All right, Coach Muggs, what clip are we going to look at today?
I've got a clip looking at zone entries and, in particular, a good read by the dot lane player, 27 Ehlers, realizing that the play is to drive the back post rather than stay up, even with the puck carrier. Really good read by him.
Yeah, that's a great clip. And I think one of the things we always talk about, and obviously we coached together for a number of years, and, the game's changed quite a bit, is, that this is like the opposite, kind of theme of the attack triangle. It's width and depth, which I know we both talk about it in our Instagram posts, but this is probably like a higher level clip because that dot lane guy, this is probably like in terms of phase one, the dot lane guy is going to be a little bit behind the puck carrier, but this is a different read, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing I really like too, and as I posted more of these clips, I think people have become more receptive to them. But at the same time, the thought process of entering through the middle of the ice, right? And sometimes when I post them, people are like, oh, back when I played, you never even thought about entering through the middle of the ice because you get crushed. But the idea of coming through the middle now keeps both D honest, and you can see both Leaf D here have to stay in the middle of the ice. They know they're going to get that puck kicked out, right? And you have your back checker obviously as well coming back through the middle of the ice, right? So entering through the middle is something that probably in the last 2 to 5 years has become more normal with zone entries. And then when you do start to get a little bit pressured, that's where that puck gets kicked out, right? You can see, I think it's Dubois here, kick that puck out. Now his read is okay, can I 2-on-1 this defenseman here? I'm going to be that middle lane. I don't like to call him drive because it's not necessarily a drive. It's middle lane support, right? And now you see this D-man creeping over saying, all right, we're going to make this a 2-on-2. He probably felt the back pressure was good enough. But then you have Ehlers way over in the dot lane here, just making an incredible read, Instead of just saying, all right, I'm going to stay there, that's almost an impossible pass for, I think it's Stastny here to get through. He says, all right, I'm going to take my route and change it a little bit, and I'm going to go all the way to the back post, right? And obviously Ehlers has a ton of speed, but you can see how hard it is for that back checker, even though he came through the middle of the ice, to pick up that player, right? Because he stayed out in the dot lane for as long as he did, right? And then it's just feathering that pass across, and it's a deflection in the back of the net.
Yeah, and I think that's such a great point. Like getting the puck to the middle of the ice I think when we played junior hockey, that's kind of when we were exposed to it, both of us. But the idea is, that you want them as a coach, you want them to stay together. They have to move and shift together, left and right, through the width of the ice. And if you lose one, if one gets too wide and there's a big gap to the middle, if you can go back to that first part of that clip, that's why you want it in the middle, because essentially what you have is a 2-on-1 on either side. So when the puck was in the middle there, you have a 2-on-1 on the right side of you, and then you have a 2-on-1 on the left side of you. And if either D commits to you, you can then move that puck to the outside. And then the D have to shift instead of just having the puck wide and they could just stay in their lanes all the way back. Now you're forcing the D to shift. And I think some people will look at this and go, why does Riley take the middle guy and leave, whoever's on the outside there? Is that Ehlers?
It's Ehlers, yeah.
So why would he leave him wide open? That's the most dangerous player. You have to if he bumps that outside and Riley doesn't come over, and that is that middle lane support, that's a 2-on-1 back to the middle, and then he's home free to the net. So you got to look as that wide forward all the way by that skip the dishes sign. Everyone back checks to the middle, but now you're forced to back check to the middle and then track that guy all the way to the outside. And it's such a huge difference. And, I think phase one would be you bump this to the outside, you get the middle lane drive, and then you'd pass it off that middle lane drive's heels to the far side. But you're right, he makes such a great read and realizes I can go right to the net here. No one's going to catch me. If he slows down, he essentially covers himself. So he does a puck to the outside, drive with the puck, middle lane drive, and a dot lane drive, which in this case, it's impossible to pick up.
No, I agree. Like if you look at the way that these two D, Riley and I think that might be Hall, I'm not 100% sure, play this, they play it like almost perfectly. And Riley's read is that he has two back pressuring guys coming here. So he probably thinks to himself, they both have tight gaps. And he says, okay, like I've got good back pressure. I have to stay with this middle lane guy here and play that 2-on-2. But again, we emphasize that dot lane guy so much is because, I know Ehlers has a ton of speed. He's obviously a very fast player in
Yeah.
the NHL, but look at the route those guys have to take to catch him. And they're not going slow. The back checkers, they've got to go a far route to get him, right? And they can't get him. That's why I like this play so much. Like I said, that kick out, right? And you've got the two back checkers coming back, and Ehlers just says, "No, I'm going all the way to the back post," right?
Yeah.
And like that, like look, Toronto has all five guys back in this frame. That's just well
They got
executed, like entry into the zone and a tremendous read by that dot lane player to say, "Yeah, I can beat this guy to the back post," and he does it.
Yeah, and in this case, it's you on the defensive side, you got to pick. Okay, who's the least dangerous guy? And the least dangerous guy in that situation, the beginning of that rush, is the dot lane player. He obviously scores in this situation, but if you're thinking, okay, I do have decent back pressure, but I have to pick the least dangerous guy. If he leaves that middle player right there and picks the dot lane guy or doesn't shift, we know what happens. It's a little area pass, and now he's, taking the puck right down the middle, essentially on a breakaway. So, I think it's important for defenders to understand that not every situation is going to be perfect. Sometimes you have to, in the moment, go, okay, this guy is more important than this player out here, even though that other player is open. It's just you have to commit to that and hope, that the other back checkers in this case can find him. But he was too far ahead, and he doesn't break his stride. He realizes he's going right to that back post.
Yeah, like I said, that's said perfectly because you can see as I pause it here, Riley pivots now and basically is, he doesn't even have to talk to the back tracker there because he's made it obvious that Dubois is his guy. And again, I don't know who that defenseman is, but he's doing a good job of staying inside the dots and just keeping Stastny to the outside as a D-man. And as a coach, that's what you want your D to do. He's on the outside. He's well outside the dots. You can't ask for him to play that any better, the 2D. And again, you're hoping that back tracker picks up. But again, he's coming back pretty hard too. But Ehlers just goes to that back post. It's a great pass to space too. It's not directly on his tape or anything like that or a bullet. It's just kind of a pass to space. And, that's an extremely skilled play by Ehlers as well too, to be able to, on his backhand, just deflect that over Campbell's glove. That's really impressive.
Yeah, and that was crazy. If you go back to that picture, you can see all 10 guys in there, and you look at the presence of the Leafs. Like everyone's back. Would you want that initial back checker on the far side to maybe get closer and maybe engage? Yeah, but it just wasn't doable. But you can see right off the faceoff, they don't break stride. Like they're there, and maybe he could have kept skating, but at this point, maybe you just get a stick on it. But you look at the width and depth of Winnipeg is they use the ice, and if you keep playing it there a little bit, it'll just show that next screen of how much width, and keep going there. And it's just this next view where it shows the opposite view up the ice. You'll see they know exactly what they're doing and where the space is. And you see where they go right away. They don't bunch into each other. They create that width. And if you stop it there, and it's just back a bit, the puck carrier uses the space on the outside because, that initial D, if he can get him sucked in and the other D gets sucked in the middle lane drive, that opens up the other option. But they don't crowd in, which you see a lot of young players too. They crowd into the middle. They use the width of the ice. And then you have the depth too. You see the D back, you have that depth of not everyone's jammed up to each other. There's options. And if they had less back checkers, maybe you could hit the D as the fourth player. It depends on the scenario, but that's why the middle lane drive, and you brought up a great point. it creates so many options. You have a shot off the pad on the outside. You can hit the middle. You can hit the dot lane. You can hit the dot lane back door. If all the back checkers blow by and are, panic and try to pick up the forwards, usually you'll have the first D up the ice wide open in the middle of the ice as well.
Yeah, that's a great point, right? Like obviously the Leafs are doing a great job in this clip. They have all five of their guys back. But say if a couple of these later backtrackers were caught down low, all of a sudden now we talk about activating that D and involving that secondary wave of guys coming in, right? I like to talk to my D a lot about, hey, you just got to beat your guy up the ice. That's all you have to do, right? So if this is your player right here, you're thinking, I just need to beat him up the ice. If I do, now I'm a part of the rush. And worst case scenario, that puck gets turned over. I have a good gap. I have a really, really good gap that, I can at least have a 50-50 puck or be able to get back on that gap situation, right? But, I like that the secondary wave, if these Leafs backtrackers aren't coming back, that, now you've added even more. Now you've added width to it and depth, right? And that's what you want on your zone entries as much as possible, is have the width of it and the depth of bringing your later guys in as well, too.
Yeah. No, this is a good one. All right. See you next week.